Hello, Facebook family. I'm excited to be here with you today, Saturday morning. So it's almost holiday if you're celebrating Christmas. So happy holiday season or Kwanzaa that's coming up here soon. But I have an interview with you this morning. I am Ronique West. I'm a proud contributor here at Fly Nubian Queen. Make sure you subscribe to www.flynubianqueen.com or text Queens to 31996. Today, I have a treat for you guys. We're going to talk about the value of owning a home, but I have the money lady with me. She's everything really credit, personal, getting into business credit, but she's also the CFO of the Black Chamber of Commerce in my local area, which I am the president. So I wanted to kind of do a couple round of interviews with her because I know what she does has worked for business owners, has worked for credit as well for personal folks and even for myself. So you can follow me at Ronique M. West on Instagram. Make sure you share out this broadcast. Comment any questions you may have. As you join the live, make sure you tell me your name so I can shout you out and where you're tuning in from. But we're going to have a really good in-depth conversation today. So Devon, if you want to tell the people who you are while I continue to get things set up, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me on this morning, interviewing me first and foremost. I'm Devonna Ransom, also known as the Money Lady. I started a company back in 2012. It's called Ransom Credit Management Services. We're a one-stop shop for your financial needs. I am an accountant, so I provide bookkeeping services. Also, I do financial consulting for businesses, helping them with their financial processes. I originally started the business doing credit repair. And that was from there, it grew into tax preparation, and then it grew into accounting and consulting for small businesses to help them. But I love finance. Anything money excites me. Anything money. I also do personal finance as far as like money management. I give classes on money management because I think that is a very important component in our finances and in the Black community. It's just so many issues and different things that I see that through financial management, we can help bridge the wealth gap, and we can put ourselves in a better position, not just for us but for our future generations.
Okay, so you covered a lot. Now can you let's kind of get into how long you've been doing the money thing? How long did you say again?
I started I've opened up my first business in 2012, but I mean, I've been hands-on with money literally, I think maybe since I was 18. I've always just had a gift and a knack for just money management, anything finance.
Okay. Now, what about a testimony on how, before we get into this conversation of how owning a home can benefit?
I in my personal life, I can see my husband and I actually became homeowners 5 years ago. It was a long 2-year process. I would say being in a home and being a homeowner, it has helped my children, to focus. It's given them a sense of security. It's helped my husband and I to, get focused and to get goal oriented, to want more in life, because you get that mindset once you own your own home. If I can do this, then what else can I do? What else can I accomplish? Because my husband and I, we come from a background where I grew up in a single parent home, and there was very, many years, even with him growing up, it was just his mom. His dad was in and out of jail, incarcerated, and he just had different issues. So he wasn't always present in their home. And so by owning a home, we've overcome a lot of different obstacles that statistics say that we shouldn't have made it through, or, we shouldn't be in a position that we are now.
Okay. So now because I think, it's a good debate going on right now, especially with the younger generation and the older generation. We know the millennials are dealing with, rates of pay have not went up. So a lot of times they're shying away from buying a home because the cost of buying a home is more today. So, it's a lot of different kind of scenarios where people are arguing if you should buy a home or you shouldn't buy a home, you should continue to rent and so forth. So it's just a lot of debate going on. So I love that you wanted to cover this topic first. What's the value of buying too much home? Because we know we all go through the pre-approval and they approve for us for that maximum amount, which looks real juicy. But why should we stay away from that?
Because of for one, the rate of foreclosure. Even though a lot of times I hear us say, okay, I paid $1,000 a month in rent, I can go own me a home. But with owning a home comes a lot more responsibility. It comes with the repairs, the unforeseen things. Like in this year alone, I think our microwave went out. We have to buy a new stove, and my home was actually a brand new home when we purchased it. So I think we even had some electrical issues. Like we've had a lot of things that were unforeseen, and also kind of to piggyback on what you were saying as far as how the pay rates haven't gone up. When we first, I would say to anybody out there that think you can't afford a home, because I come across that mindset a lot. When my husband and I first bought this home, he was making $10 an hour. He was working at Chuck E. Cheese. He was making $10 an hour. I remember going through the banks, and I think they approved us for a house about 125, 135,000, and the mortgage would have been $900. And I knew that we could not afford a $900 a month payment, and so I declined. And we just kept looking. It took us 2 years, and literally we found a 100% program, and it had a subsidy payment onto it. So our initial mortgage was only $529. So that's one of the what I would say is be patient with the process when it comes to, don't overextend yourself, because it's a lot of responsibility. We hear a lot of times, people, brag or say whatever about home ownership, but a lot of times you don't hear the realness of it. I actually had a client that put a Facebook post. Literally last month was her first year in her home. She's a single mom. She makes good money. But like I said, she's a single mom, and she literally listed the stress that she went through within that first year, contemplating, moving out of her home, having to change schools for her children. And she was just saying how difficult it was that first year. So it is a big difference between renting and owning. And so you want to always make sure that you get the least payment that you can possible, because you don't want to work hard. Because we had a couple in our neighborhood. They just purchased their home in March because they did not have and they were a married couple. Actually, they were a Caucasian couple, but they didn't have any financial backing, any savings. And they lost their home recently, and they had to move out because they weren't prepared for a home, and they didn't prepare themselves financially. And then it may not have been, them being overextended, but they just did not prepare for the responsibility that what could happen in case, of job loss or whatever. So it's always best to get the lowest payment you can possible. Do not overextend yourself.
Okay, so the biggest thing, do not overextend yourself. Make sure that that loan amount they approved you for, do not go get that big loan amount. Make sure you get a payment that you can afford. What are some of the things you want to look out for in home ownership your first year? You said she kind of made a list. Do you remember some of the things she kind of talked about, or just talk about your personal experience? Because I feel that it depends on the real estate agent you work with. If you work with a real estate agent that is conscious of like making sure you don't overextend yourself, or has more of an investor eye, I think they put people in better predicaments than a real estate agent that's focused on making sure they get their money out the deal and really don't, consider the financial situation they're putting their actual clients in. What are some of the things to look out for?
When it comes to real estate agents, I guess make sure they have a heart for you and for your situation. You can kind of tell if that agent, because we had gone through several different agents, if they really have a heart for the client, or they're just trying to make a sale. Because a lot of times when they're just trying to make a sale, they really aren't looking out for your best interest, and you can get yourself in a situation. I've been pressured to buy things that I knew I couldn't afford, and I had to just walk away and find someone else that was actually best fit for our situation.
Okay. And then what about properly managing your money to purchase a home? Because I know you work with personal credit. You got me I'm almost to the 700 club. So I'm about to be invested a lot. So I know personally that, what Ivana does for personal credit definitely works. And even for businesses, she does a lot of stuff for businesses within the chamber and outside the chamber and so forth. And I know everybody has definitely rave reviews. So that's why I wanted to get Devonna on here with us today. But in the meantime, let me re-up and let me shout out some people before you answer that question and we get into money management, because I'm pretty sure we have a lot of questions on that from you. And this is the money lady that I'm talking to today. Make sure you follow her at the money lady. It's the MONI lady on IG. And then on Facebook, do Ransom Credit Management Services. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Ronique M. West. But make sure you share out this broadcast. We're having a conversation today on how the Black community can get value from home ownership. And so we want to make sure everybody gets to hear this. And then drop your questions below. Let me shout out a couple of people. Make sure you subscribe to www.flynewingqueen.com and text Queens to 31996 so you can see when we go live and support all the queens on the network and support Black media. So Shelly's joining in. Sheila's joining in from Gage, Texas. Cleveland from Robert. Hondo from how oh, he didn't tell he got a question. We'll ask your question later, Condo. KTM from Memphis, Tennessee. And then somebody said congratulations on your marriage as well, Devonna. So that was a good conversation. Now let's go into properly managing your money to prepare for home ownership, or just managing money even while you're in a home.
The first thing I advise my clients, develop a spending plan. That spending plan is basically going to show you, it's going to help you assess where your money is going and what's actually coming in. Because a lot of times we could be spending more, or there's areas where we can actually cut back. Once you develop that spending plan and you develop, what you're paying out, you can do adjustments to it. I know our first couple years in the house, well, actually still now, we don't have cable. We have Netflix. Like I found ways to cut back to the bare minimum necessities in order to, fund our savings account, fund our emergency account. One thing I will also say, have a backing. Like where are you going to go in case of emergency or something comes up? I have my clients first establish an emergency fund, usually at least like $1,000 or so. Just for unexpected expenses. And then also I have them do what you would call a reserve fund. And that's 3 to 6 months of your total monthly bills in case of job loss or anything like that. But savings is going to be the basic thing. Of course, managing that money and properly sending it where it needs to go. And then also savings, because it helps. Like it has helped us so many times. When my husband has lost his job, he was out of work for a year, and had it not been for my small business and then the savings that we had, we wouldn't have had a home, because like I say, things are going to happen unexpectedly. So we just have to prepare ourselves best as we can. And only way that's going to be done is through proper money management. And then if you're not good with finances, find someone, a friend, family member, or a consultant, or some kind of person that's great with money, and get help, because it has done wonders. Even myself, I have an advisor that helps me with my finances and helps me to make sure that I'm staying on track. So
that's good. Now, if you guys noticed that she said her husband had lost his job for a year, and because of her small business and the savings they put up, they were able to maintain their house and continue going. So me, I'm your business consultant here at Fly New Queen, and I'm always talking about starting a business, because I think you should really start a business instead of getting a second job. That is a great extra income. It's truly job security at the end of the day, because we know that the job market is going to change tremendously here in the next 5 years. So that's another conversation. We're going to stick on a home ownership conversation right now. Now, what about, how does buying a home really help with wealth accumulation? I know we were kind of talking about getting into that, but before we go into that, actually, let's stick on a budget for a little bit. Because what if you never saved money? How do you get started? I like the fact that you brought up a consultant. I'm a consultant, you're a consultant, and we focus on 2 different areas. But sometimes you just need a third party to come in and help. And it doesn't matter how much money you making. If you spend it all out, you have a net worth of 0. That's not good. Like we talk a lot about that, about our spending habits and how to coattail them. We have people that we know that we spending all our money, it just goes out the door. You can be making $150K a year, $200K a year, $500K a year, and so forth. But if you got a huge mortgage and 5 car payments or 3 car payments and so forth. And I remember seeing a meme of a lady, of a girl. She was saying, what you're doing, tech. She ain't got time for what you're doing, tech. But on the meme or on the paper she wrote down all her expenses. her rent was $2,758 or something. And I said, why is she paying rent for that amount? Where is she living at? How many rents is she paying? I was like, she better have a business. I'm trying to figure out what she's doing. You know, then I think her cell phone was like $500, right? So I was just like, OMG, like her budget was just out of control. Unless she's taking care of about 10 family members. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that and what pointers you have for that before we get into the next.
Can I give some, I had some, actually it kind of flowed into it. I had some statistics on African Americans and what we spend money on. We spend $3.3 billion on tobacco, $3 billion on whiskey, wine, and beer, $2.8 billion on non-alcoholic drinks, leisurely time spending, $3.1 billion, toys, games, and pets, $3.5 billion, telephone services, which is substantially higher. It was $18.6 billion. We spend $10 billion on gifts, $17.3 billion on charitable contributions, and $23.6 billion on healthcare.
Now, what was the charitable contributions again?
$17.3 billion.
Whoa! And then what was the alcohol?
The alcohol, $3 billion on alcohol.
$3 billion. So that was kind of low. Wow. So you got 3.3. I kind of wrote down some of the numbers. 3.3 billion on tobacco. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
18.6 billion on telephone services. What telephone services? I'm trying to figure out, is that cell phones?
Cell phones, yes.
And most people don't have a desk phone. I still have a desk phone because I have a business. But I know most people don't have a desk phone. And I'm trying to figure out, that's 23.6 billion. 23.6 billion was on healthcare, which is important. We know healthcare is too high in the United States. And then 17.3 billion. What was the 17.3 billion on again?
That was the charitable contributions.
Charitable contributions, which we always debate about that. And then the 3 billion was on the I would say alcohol products. But I always tell people when they're on my broadcast a lot of times, I like to tell you guys that Hennessy makes 80% of their income from African Americans, 80 to 90%. If you stop buying Hennessy today, they would go out of business tomorrow. I don't think people understand how much we fund other industries that do not come into our neighborhoods and fund anything. Now let's talk about spending habits and how we can coattail some of these spending habits, especially that telephone bill.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
That's outrageous.
And they get you these days because they allow you to finance everything, or they allow you to make payments on it. And so we don't realize how much that monthly bill is we're actually paying, and how much debt we've accumulated just because, they make it so easy to go ahead and have instant gratification, basically, instead of, saving up or putting aside. Me personally, like my husband, he likes cell phones and electronics, and I don't. We actually are with the company Family Mobile. I think we pay $52 a month, and we have unlimited everything, and we have maybe 4 or 5 gigs of high-speed data. And so like this, basically we used to be with Sprint a couple years ago, and that was part of our grooming process where we cut back on a lot of outrageous expenses. And it's like, if you look at, if you're spending, I know it was at one point where we were almost spending $150 a month, on just a phone bill in itself. And those things start to add up to thousands and thousands of dollars that we could have been putting in a savings plan. We could have been saving for our kids' education. I mean, it's so many different ways. We have money. We're just not investing it or spending it in the proper areas. And so it would just be, like I say, you just have to really sit down, and we have to have a mindset change and look at what's important, where we're trying to go. And then from there, we can set our financial goals. Because at the end of the day, and something that you said, we have to get to a point where we're keeping more money than what we're actually bringing in. Because a lot of times we're spending more than what we bring in, but the goal is to keep the majority of what we're actually bringing in the household. And that, that helps, and that gets us to a starting point as well.
Right. And I just added real quickly, the $150 a month is $1,800 for the year. Mm-hmm. So if you're spending that on a cell phone, especially with just 1 or 2 lines, you can definitely lower your bill, and then you can put that money over to savings. So a lot of people always see or complain about they can't save or they're having a problem with save. Really go through, assess your budget, and see where you can cut that. I agree with you on cutting back. Like I went through I feel like I'm still trying to cut back. Like the more you start cutting back and you realize how much you can accumulate, the more you like get addicted to cut back. You know, and then it just becomes a habit. I know I got rid of my cable maybe like 5 years ago. And then like the cell phone, I remember telling my daughter at one point, I was like, look, I'm about to kill the cell phone bill. You're getting ready to go to like strictly prepaid where the bill's the same amount every month. If you want an expensive phone, you have to save up and buy it.
Yes.
And put it on the bill. Go ahead and put your SIM card in it and call it a day. And that just cuts back on things you're already spending, and then you can just allocate that money for other things, either investing or saving. So it is ways to do it no matter what your income level is. And I think the biggest thing I would like to get for people to understand about budgeting before we change to the next conversation is that no matter how much money you make, you need to learn how to budget where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you'll always budget even when you start taking in more income. Because if you're growing and you're learning, your income is going to more than likely increase, right? Throughout the years and in life and so forth. But if you don't learn how to budget at $10 an hour, you're not going to learn how to budget at $50 or $100 an hour. When you start bringing in, $10K a month or whatever you're doing, you're still going to just spend it out. But that's really important so people can understand that piece. Any other last statements on that before we move on to the wealth accumulation?
Mm-hmm. As far as savings, a lot of times I come across clients that need help with it. One tip I would give, find a credit union or some bank that you don't have access to an ATM card, and you can get your money automatically drafted. Like if your employer offers an option where you can get more than one deposit account deposited into, that helps as well. So that money can go straight to that account, and you don't miss what you don't see. And that can help build discipline, and that can help, get you to a point where you want to be saving wise if you're not a good saver.
Mm-hmm. An online savings account. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. And don't get a debit card or credit card to it.
Yep.
Access it. I know Capital One has one. A lot of you do Black Bank. A lot of the Black banks have online savings accounts or checking accounts you can do. Just don't get a debit or credit card to it. That way you don't spend it. I seen actually Candy Barris do a quick money tip, and she said what she realized was that she would be spending, as Candy Barris, she has multiple businesses, she makes good money. She was like, I wanted to control my spending, and what I realized, I had to get a bank account where I didn't have access to it at all. It would take me a while to go to the bank or go, I had to go through a process, and most of us won't go through a process to access money. So by her just having an account and not getting a credit card or anything to it, she don't spend money in that account. So that's her accumulation of, saving and investing or whatever. And that way she knows she can't touch the money. She says, because how many of us are really going to go to the bank to withdraw the money today? Mm-hmm. So that was a really good tip. I just caught her do a live real budgeting and money. And so if you notice that people who really keep money, they're budgeting really well. And that's all it is. It's a lot of people who don't have like millions of dollars, but they have businesses or investors, renting, home renting, and so forth, but they're able to do it because they budget extremely well, right? So I think that's a mindset change, like you said. Now we are getting a couple of questions. Let me re-up real quick before we get into the wealth accumulation. I know you wanted to cover some points of how home ownership really builds wealth. You've been kind of doing some research because I know you're on a mission for next year to really put some people into some houses and get some things situated for some families. That's why I love working with Devonna, because she comes from a spiritual level, and she's very invested in making sure people get their credit together, get their money together, and she will pray over you. The things you don't even realize she's praying over you on if you choose to work with her to get your credit together. So make sure you share out this broadcast, guys. Subscribe to www.flyingqueen.com. Text Queens to 31996. We're talking about how home ownership actually puts in value to the Black community. Let's get a couple of questions in here before we go into your point. Condo, I might be saying your name wrong, so I apologize. Says, how can you get value from something you don't own in the first place? Is what his question was. So that will be a good one for you to cover when we talk about the value of home ownership. Okay. I have a question. I'm in the progress to buy a house. KTM says, I have a question. I'm in the progress to buy a house, trying to see, should I buy a house now or should I wait until the stock market crash? But people have been saying that it's best. What do you think?
I think now is the best time to buy. If you're in a position to buy now, I think it's good because the interest rates, they're not too high. as far as mortgages. And I mean, I think if you can buy now, buy now.
Okay. And then we got a question from Sheila. It says, what about USDA loans versus FHA loans? Which one do you think is better?
Actually, we have a USDA loan.
Okay.
I completely love USDA. It's a 100% loan. I mean, they really, really work with you. Like I say, there's two types of loans with USDA. They have the direct program and they have the guarantee. The direct would be directly through one of their offices. And of course, if you can get in one of those, your payment will be a lot lower than the actual guarantee, because I think the guaranteed program, I don't know if it's changed. I haven't looked lately, but there was a 3% fee that's added on to the mortgage. But it's a lot better, in my opinion, with than the FHA loan, just because of the payment. The PMI is private mortgage insurance. It's like an insurance that you have to pay basically to secure your loan because of like previous default or different things that have occurred in the housing industry. So with that, it's going to be a lot cheaper to get it's going to be a lot cheaper if you go through USDA, if you're eligible to, than to do a FHA loan. So
okay. So Sheila, that's your question. Now let's go into how can because I think that'll kind of answer Condo's question. You got some points of showing. We kind of talked about it before we started the broadcast of how buying a home or financing a home really adds value to the Black community or into our community, period. Let's go through those.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of give my personal testimony. And it's about a lot of times too, it's about where you buy, and how can I say, one thing I'm gonna tell y'all, I pray a lot. I always ask for God to order my steps. And I wanted to move in one area, but he moved me into another area. Since moving in this area, when we first purchased our loan, our mortgage, we were in one phase of building. We're now in, I guess, the second phase or possibly the third phase of building. In a 5-year period, if I decided to sell my home today, I have $40,000 to $60,000 in equity that I have accumulated in this home because of the second phase, and because of the value of the home has increased because of that phase. And so every situation is not going to be in that situation, but in some instances, in some circumstances, home ownership can benefit you without you having to be in the home 20 and 30 years. And we just desire to actually keep this home. That's the only reason why we wouldn't sell it, because we're actually in the process of purchasing another home, and we're going to use this one as rental income. But literally, if I sold this home today, I would get $40,000 to $60,000 more than what I paid for the home, because of what I owe on it and because of the value. Like, we've had several homes, they sell really fast in my neighborhood, actually, and then they have made literally $50,000 or more on the sale of that home. And then I've seen homes in our neighborhood sell over and over again, because it's just a really good area also. And so, like I say, there's a lot of benefits in owning a home, and it's not just a financial gain. If you have children, I mean, it helps socially. It helps because, for one, when a parent, whether it's a single parent or not, when a child has a home, they have their own space, they have comfort, they have a place where they can really, really grow. And studies show that they do better in school. They're less likely, depending on the area they live in, to sell drugs. They have less antisocial behaviors. Like, it's so many benefits just with the children alone. And then whatever habits you model, if you have children or grandchildren, they know the comfort of their own home. So you're automatically instilling in that child home ownership and to own something. And therefore, like, it helps with the progression of our mindsets as well. So it does also help to bridge the wealth gap, because it pushes our children to do more because they've been exposed to better, or they've been exposed to more.
Nice. So now I know we kind of got into about home ownership, and then how it really can help with even our businesses, our Black-owned businesses, and how a lot of our Black-owned businesses are kind of focusing on doing things either with landscaping or even in the area of remodeling. and so forth. And so, we can really support our businesses, even that. And just going back to building communities. I know a lot of times, even listening to Dr. Clyde Anderson, he always talks about we have to go back to building, full communities. Communities we have, Black-owned businesses, home ownership, everybody knows each other. We have neighbors that are able to, know our kids, if they're on punishment, then they'll keep them on punishment too. And I think the value of putting a child in a home and you being in a home also is very important. And then teaching that home ownership value is very important. And just putting that in that mindset of the child. I think about my daughter who's in her early 20s and she's already looking to purchase a home. So she's in this process now of just making sure her credit's good and she's looking at homes and trying to decide where she wants to be. But I always told her I wanted her to be in have different values than I had when I was growing up. Not even that, but just understand some things at a younger age than what I understood when I was her age. Because those things were not really valued or put into me. But I always kept her in a home, even though I had built the house and didn't get it. But I always made sure we were in a home, even when written. I never really did apartments because I understood the value of just having a yard, being able to play, being able to have your own space, having your own room. She's a little spoiled. But but she gets the value of things because of it. Now, let's talk a little bit more about that because you brought up a good point about, us owning homes and then the value of even starting a business or us being able to support our Black-owned business.
Yes. And even with starting a business, and like I say, because of that equity, a lot of times, we may not be able to outright get a loan for our home. For our business, I could take that same equity, that's in my home and I can take it and invest it into my business or invest it into another venture. It just gives you being, of course, if you keep your credit up and your finances and different things, you have access to capital that you can use for a business venture or whatever, you want to invest that money into. Also, it opens up avenues, as Ranique was saying, as we talked about earlier. I didn't realize how much just home ownership in itself, because a lot of people don't do their own yard. So that's the avenue. As a African American, you can get into landscaping if that's something that you're good at. Remodeling. I see a lot of Black-owned companies that are coming out in our area, and they do remodeling. Like all of us have a gift or a talent. And I believe that gift and that talent is for us to be able to use. It's not just for us to rely on our 9-to-5 job. We can use it. Even if you don't desire to be an entrepreneur, it's always good to have a separate source of income. And then through home ownership, it helps. Like you have moving companies. I've seen where people have started furniture companies, even pressure washing. It's so many avenues where you can make money, even with our children, because I'm very big on instilling entrepreneurship in youth. I have been doing it for years, and my children, they're hitting teenage years now, but I constantly instill an entrepreneur mindset in them. You can teach them how to start a landscaping company. We have a group in my neighborhood, and they're always looking for people to cut their yard, especially if they're elderly. It's so many avenues that we can use with home ownership and convert it into financial wealth for ourselves.
Right. And I think you touched on a lot of different things, especially with our youth, because I think what I want people to really understand, let me re-up quick before I get into my thoughts. Make sure you subscribe to www.flynewlyqueen.com. Text Queens to 31996. Even if you understand this conversation, be sure to share this out because it may be someone on your timeline who's not had this conversation or is debating about home ownership or not. This is a really good conversation. And we have an expert on the line that is the money lady that focuses on personal credit. And also if you're looking for help with your finances within your business, she can help you with that as well as far as managing and so forth. And so make sure you go ahead and look up, follow Devonna at The Money Lady on Instagram, and also Ransom Credit Management Services on Facebook, which her information is up above in the description. You can follow me at Ranique M. West on Instagram. Now, what I was going to say with the jobs, I know I was looking at one report, and they said most of the careers are going to change in the next 5 years, which is going to really hurt a lot of folks because they are really focused on one field and they don't have multiple skill sets. A lot of people are not reporting this, but anybody that is in pretty much Silicon Valley, deal with artificial intelligence, everything that's changing, that is really focused on the economy, they know that the job skills are going to change drastically in the next 5 years. Even Uber just did a whole, one of their latest financial reports, saying that people are not even going to be buying cars really in the future. Like 25% is going to go down by 25% of people who are going to invest in cars, just because of things like Uber, Lyft. You can really get around, and then everything is pretty much has delivery service right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I look up grocery stores, fast food places. You can even order McDonald's to get it delivered to your house. So things are so convenient, and with Amazon, on a mission to deliver everything to your home, a convenience factor is going to hurt a lot of different type of jobs. So really making sure our kids are prepared to be business owners and going into entrepreneurship, and then giving them the comfortability of being in a home where they can really learn and expand beyond what public school is teaching them. Because we know that the school system doesn't prepare them to be entrepreneurs and owners. They prepare them to be workers. And we know that the jobs are going to be drastically changed soon. So I love that you went into the youth entrepreneurship, because that is so important. And even we know that when I was a kid, the most of the boys in the neighborhood, they would be cutting grass, right? So that is a form of starting a business, and then that can grow into a huge landscaping company. And there's so many different options now. Janitorial services, I know, which a lot of people do pay house cleaners to come in and clean their home, especially when they're away. I have a lot of friends that do that, and I travel a lot. And so I have debated about even getting a house cleaner to come in and just clean the home and organize things when I am away. But I have a lot of friends who definitely do that, because that's a value that they just don't have time to do, or they don't want to be bothered with. They have 3 kids, and they're running, they're going to work or whatever. And just having that convenience factor is huge. And I know I have a friend that her mama just started a laundry service. And so I became her client, so it's just, it's just a lot of convenient factors when you're looking at things, and so many different opportunities to become a homeowner or whatever, to also start a business, or even make sure you're supporting your Black-owned business, which builds wealth at the end of the day. What we want to get away from is the spending values. Let me cover the spending numbers we said again. $3.3 billion in tobacco right now, $18.6 billion in telephones. I don't know what type of phones y'all got right now. I can't even imagine. Like, what are we doing with phones? $23.6 billion in healthcare, $17.3 billion. I can't remember what that number was. Again,
the charitable contributions,
and then $3 billion within alcohol. So that is just way too much. And Sheila, congratulations, you 85 points from the 700 club. Congratulations for that. We know that it's huge, and we want to challenge everybody to get into the 700 club, of course, that's on the broadcast. And even if you don't want to buy a home, at least get one investment property.
Yes.
Or 2. Right. So that's kind of my objective. I'm like, I want investment property, because I move too much. I'm everywhere, but I'm like, okay, I can definitely get some rental property. There's no excuses. So I could definitely do that and get a management company to rent it out. Manage the process of, that piece. And there's so many options. Like, I know a lot of Black-owned management companies that will do that for you. So then that's another way that you're adding value, and then making sure you're building wealth within the Black community. So any final thoughts, Devonna, before we get off of here, that you want to leave everyone with?
Home ownership. One thing I learned also, home ownership has fallen to a 50-year low. And when it comes to home ownership, I don't think people value or see the value in home ownership. It's so many perks and there's so many benefits that comes along with home ownership. Like I say, it provides that stability. It provides that avenue for building, wealth or helping others. It's an important factor, and it gives you, when you own a home, you own a piece of this land, and that should be the ultimate goal, that you leave here and you're able to pass something down to a loved one. You have ownership, so therefore, ownership is such a big thing for us. It's really a big thing, and it's not something, like you say, even if you don't want to own your own home, get rental properties. I just think it's so important on owning a piece of this land here.
Right. And I know I was listening to Jay Morrison a little bit, but I think I just saw a quick video of him, and he was talking about 10%. I think he said 10% of the people own 88% of the land right now here. And I was like, whoa. Like he said, so ownership basically is key. But I also listened to something where Tyler Perry was just talking about how, you know, he's built his studio and so forth. And he talks to a lot of people who have the resources to like either build other things where it's ownership wise. And it's almost as if we as a community, not only if we feel like the income's not there, but even when we do have the resources, we're still shying away from ownership, whether it be a home, whether it be a business, whether it be building our own thing. Because he said he's had a lot of conversation with folks to try to get them to start owning their own thing that's outright theirs and it's not tied to anybody else. And I did a whole conversation on the Bevel buyout, Walker and Company buyout, by Procter Gamble, where he turned down one before, then he ended up going and going ahead and letting Procter Gamble buy out. So he said it's a mental, I think, transition we have to make as a community to understand ownership brings value regardless. However long, and it's a long-term process for some of us and maybe short-term for others, but even if you're in that actual realm of getting into ownership, then you leave that mindset for your family, they can take it to the next level, right? Because then if you have a life insurance policy and you're saying, okay, well, I may have this much left in a mortgage, make sure that policy is high enough to where it gives them enough to buy a couple more homes and pay off their mortgage or whatever they need to do, you know, so you can always make sure that you are putting that step up. Sometimes that you may be the first in your family to do it, but go ahead and get that process started. You know, that's kind of how I think of it. I'm the first in the family to get the process started. So that way it continues to go. And then you teach them the responsibility, because you can't do it and then not say anything and not teach anybody, because then it just dies off with you. And at my point in my life, the second half of my life, I'm thinking, okay, what can I add to my community and to my family that I leave behind once I leave, whenever I leave? That's kind of like where my objective is now. Of course, I'm focused on the day-to-day. Of course, I'm going to make money. Of course, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to balance. But then what else? What is that legacy that I'm leaving behind, knowing that I'm the first to do a lot of different things in my family? Yeah, so I think that is just really key. Sheila said, one more thing, I have been working on my credit after 2 divorces. And for kids, it was hard, but so worth it. Having bad credit is so stressful. It's very stressful. Yes. I would agree. I think some people say money is more valuable than credit and so forth. You can debate that all you want. If you have any other questions before we get off, guys, make sure you drop them below before we end the broadcast. But I think, you know, of course, I was listening to another young lady or something. They were talking about how everything is built off of people who have bad credit. Like, really, the system wants you to have bad credit because they can charge you more higher interest rate. They can charge you, which makes your payments higher, which means they're getting your money from you. They can trap you in payday loans. They can trap you in small loans. You know, I know they changed it from payday loans, but then they have other small loans you can get into, and then that's a cycle, right? Where they're taking your pay every time so you can't budget and then get out the way. I looked at that one time. I was like, okay, so really, even if you just value getting into the 700 club, so you not having crazy payments and you don't have to worry about going somewhere, you know you're going to get approved, you know, and then you can pretty much have even more if you don't have that cash flow, but you have way more pool because you have good credit. That is value to you because you're going to be able then to make sure you say, hey, I'm not making a payment of this. I want my payment to be this. If you can do it, I'll go somewhere else because you know you have the credit to do it.
You sure can.
Right. So we have to change our mindset and really understand that value that gets added from just even moving to a higher credit score and really reevaluating those budgets. So I thank you for being with me today, Devonna. Go ahead and give out your follow information. So we can get ready to get off of here.
You can follow me on Instagram. It's the Money Lady, and it has an I at the end on the Money Lady. You can follow me on Facebook, Ransom Credit Management Services. You can also visit our website at ransomcreditservices.com. And those are the 3 avenues you can reach us if you want to inquire more, you have more questions.
Okay, and if you want to work on your credit, you know, you want to go ahead and make a plan for the next 6 months. Of course, tax season's coming up. So you're going to have some extra money. Go ahead and put in something of value so that you can make sure you're coming into a different situation in 2019 with the new year approaching and so forth. That's why I wanted to be sure we got this broadcast started and get it out. And then we're going to have Devonna back, I believe. We're going to kind of give you some more pointers on credit if she's willing to come back, because she's a wealth of knowledge. That's why we call her the money lady, because she focuses on personal credit and business credit, which is like a win-win for any situation. Because for our Black businesses, a lot of times we struggle. Of course, we know the access to capital, lack of a lot of different things because of systems that are against us. But a lot of times what we struggle with in our personal lives, we also struggle in our business life. So you have a person that's able to address both. It gives you a holistic fix than just a one fix here or there, because that does tie together, even though you keep it separate. The 700 Club is just that your credit score is 700 and above. I'm sorry, OC. And congrats to Charles for having the 800 bracket, he said.
Awesome.
But Sheila said that her mom said your credit is your character. Yeah, and a lot of people do. That prevents you from getting jobs. I have seen that before, where a lot of people do base that off your character, but they're coming up with new scores now. So guys, be aware of that. China's coming up with a whole new scoring system for their people. They've already put it in place, which is very interesting. I hope the U.S. doesn't do that, but it's based off of social interaction and everything. So we'll see what happens. But I think some people are trying to push it for the United States too, from what I'm seeing, because I'm always researching and reading as well. So we'll see what happens there. But go ahead and share this broadcast, because like I said, even if you know this information, it may be somebody on your timeline that needs this information and they're debating and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with their tax refund. And we want to get away from spending these billions of dollars into things that does not accumulate wealth for our families and for our community. This is a good conversation for them to hear. And then they have a resource to reach out to get help and get assistance, a proven resource that I can attest to personally, that has helped and can help you pretty quickly get your things in order and really make sure that you're ready to go into that right path. So make sure you go ahead and share this out, and then subscribe to www.flymovingqueen.com. Text Queens to 31996 so you can know when any of the queens go live on Fly Nubian Queen. You can follow me on Instagram at Ronique M. West, and I will talk to you guys later, family. And thank you, Devonna, for taking the time to be with us this morning.
Thank you as well. Y'all have a great Saturday.